Welcome to our math cast on histograms. Our goal is to help you better understand the concept at hand when you need it and at your own pace. We hope you enjoy this math cast on histograms.
A histogram displays data from a frequency table. It has bars to represent each interval. These bars do not have a space between them, and they must all be the same width. This is so that each bar is the same amount if they are the same height. They are touching because they are in the same group. If the bars are not touching, it shows that a number is missing.
A frequency table is a table that groups data into intervals to show the number of data values in an interval. You must have a frequency table to make a histogram.
This is an example of a frequency table. As you can see, there are 3 columns. The first column is labeled as the topic of the histogram. Underneath that are ranges of numbers that your data will fit into.
In the next column is where you count with tallies how many numbers fit into each range. So in the first row, there are 3 numbers that fit into the 1 through 5 range, so you put down 3 tallies.
In the third column, you just count up the numbers of tallies in the second column. So in the first line, there were 3 tallies, so you put the number 3 in the third column.
This column is called frequency.
This is an example of a histogram. Like in bar graphs, you need 5 things to start: title, x-axis label, y-axis label, x-axis numbering / letters, y-axis numbering. If you do not have these, you cannot graph.
As you can see, the bars are touching and they are the same width, which is something very important to know about histograms. Besides that, they're just like bar graphs in the way you graph them.
Now let's try making a frequency table. Let's start with the first row. You start by counting all the numbers between 1 and 5. We tallied 6, so we wrote 6 in the third column. Do this for each of the rows.
So in the second row, 6 through 10, we tallied 8, so that's what we put in the last row. In the third row, we did 11 through 15. We tallied 3, so we put that in the last row. In the final row, we had 16 through 20. We counted 4, so we put 4 in the last column. There's something special about frequency tables that you can do. Instead of having at the bottom of your histogram writing out 1 through 5, you can label the rows A, B, C, and D. It makes it a lot easier so you don't have to cram in your writing.
Now we'll make a histogram out of the frequency table we just made. Before we start, though, we have to do the 5 special things. Title, x-axis label, y-axis label, x-axis numbering / letters, and y-axis numbering.
Now we can start graphing. In row A, there were 6 for a frequency. So we go up 6 and make a bar, like that. You're supposed to fill the whole bar in. So in row B, there were 8. So we go up to 8. And make a bar there. As I said before, the bars should be touching. Then in row C, there were 3. So we go over to 3 and down. Then in row D, there were 4. So we go over to 4 and down. That wasn't the perfect histogram, but that's how it should look.
Now we're going to try a story problem. The story problem is, this data represents the students who have taken hot lunch over the past 13 weeks. Make a frequency table of the data. Let's start with the first row. There are two numbers in the 1 through 5 range. In the second row, there are 4. In the third row, there are 3. In the fourth row, there are 2. In the last row, there is 1.
Okay. Now we'll make a histogram of the frequency table. Remember that you can put letters in front of each row in the frequency table. Then you can use those letters in the histogram as the x-axis numbers. So in row A, there are 2. In row B, there are 4. In row C, there are 3. In row D, there are 2. And in row E, there are 3. And that's how you do a histogram.
There actually is only 1 in row E. Sorry about that. So that's how you do a histogram.
Thank you for listening to this mathcast. Please feel free to listen and learn from other mathcasts on this channel.